This NASCAR Playoffs Grid Challenge Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code RACESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITH. Also, make sure to enter the free roll football contest for up to $3,500 in prizes up for grabs. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
And I'll be damned if the books will not stop us from talking racing things. It is, of course, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Cody, we decided earlier today, a little behind the scenes, to forego the Xfinity episode today because up until 4 minutes before I cracked this microphone for this particular episode, we did not have Xfinity odds up.
Yeah, that's boy. I guess, yeah, don't know what the deal is. I guess everybody took Labor Day off. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, real slow on the draw. I mean, it was weird. Even like DraftKings didn't have DFS salaries out just a little bit ago. We didn't even have outright odds out. Like stuff's starting to populate now. Caesars is kind of getting their shit together, but yeah, I mean, in an overall sense, we don't have what we normally would have. So decided we made the executive decision. We'll give it another day. Allow time for the odds to get out there so we can give you a good full slate of picks. But luckily, we have things to shift around, and this is a good day. Just as good a day as any, Rod. Fill out our playoff brackets. Playoffs? It's playoff time, baby. We have brackets. The round of 16 is starting, and we're going to narrow it all the way down to 4, pick our champion, and crown him. And you can bet accordingly if you would like.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that, again, you know, we talked about how we were going to structure this week, and we really wanted to get these championship picks in and do all that stuff. And then we were like, okay, but let's make sure we get the Xfinity. And you're right. There's just like nothing out right now. And they're still populating now, but still not a whole lot out. So yeah. We apologize if you are tuning in today, hoping for an Xfinity show, because we have to shift focus. Walter checking in, saying, what's up, guys? Hope your day is okay. Looking forward to your picks. And that he doesn't see there's many Xfinity odds out yet. You're correct.
You are correct. That's why we're making these picks instead. But I'm excited for this. It's always fun to walk through the grid, and it's just like any other playoff thing. I mean, it won't be chalk. You might think that somebody's a lock to go out in the first round, and then they find a way to get into the second round, especially with the wild cards. We have 2 super speedways, multiple road courses. Things are are not going to be easy to get to the Final Four and be crowned the 2024 champion.
Indeed. So here's the thing. NASCAR on their website has a playoff grid challenge bracket, right? So you go to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast or not NASCAR Gambling Podcast. That's in a second. You go to the NASCAR page, go to their fantasy page, and then you will find this grid challenge, right? You can also, while you're at it, go join our league. Look for the NASCAR Gambling Podcast Listener League, and you can join that league. There's going to be some prizes. We haven't figured out what those prizes are going to be yet because we literally just made the league about 10 seconds ago. But we definitely want to reward you if you end up winning this league. So go join our league for sure, because we're definitely looking forward to competing with you guys over the course of the postseason to see what you guys got going on too. And while I'm at it, let me remind you, the Sports Gambling Podcast is back, picking every NFL game against the spread like they've done since 2011. And then make sure to enter another free contest, the free roll football contest. You get up to $3,500 in cash that's up for grabs. Sign up for that at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. Again, Cody talked about it. Go join our listener league for the bracket challenge. All you got to do is just pick who you think is moving on to the round of 12, and then a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the way this one works is, you just pick your round of 12 guys first, and then after the first round, you'll make your next selection. So that's kind of a different way to do it. We're going to walk through the whole thing right now, but that's what the challenge will be. I did just tweet that link out as well at NASCAR Gambling on the X. So is it at NASCAR Gambling? Yeah, that's oh boy. Yep. That's our Twitter handle that we've had for years. So there you go. But yes, I did tweet it out. It'll be the pinned tweet over there, so you can join throughout the rest of the week before Sunday's race and get into that. And we'll definitely have prizes for the top, maybe a couple of people and whatnot. So King checking in. If Burton makes it out of the first rounds, I'm going to buy one of his shirts and take a picture of it saying, "I'm gay for Harrison." Not happening, gentlemen. Boy, hopefully
he's happy for him.
Oh, right? Yes. Hopefully you're not like the guy that said he was going to eat shit if Florida State lost and have to delete your YouTube account later, King. But I don't think it's that. I mean, he's already – let's pull up the playoff standings, which we're going to walk through here in a second, Rod. If the playoffs ended today, he's on the cut line. That's 0 points. Like, he's ahead of – sorry, King. Ty Gibbs currently in the playoff standings and ahead of Martin Truex Jr. as well with playoff points. So – your brother checking in. I'm waiting for Cody to tell me who the champ's going to be and why it's Tyler Reddick. Don't spoil the whole show, but if you've been listening since about last November, that's when I started giving out Tyler Reddick as my champ. So likely that's not going to change, but I haven't filled out a bracket yet, Rod. So who knows? Maybe it will change.
Who knows? Although I think we should go over the standings as it were right now and who would actually be secure enough and who would. I mean, it's obvious Tyler Reddick is going to be pretty much secure to the next. I know.
I mean,
but
he's third place. Like, he's not even first place just because he won the regular season. He didn't have a ton of other playoff points. So, So if you're unfamiliar or don't remember how it works, with the playoffs, they've earned playoff points throughout the season, right? Every win is 5 points, 5-point playoff points. Every stage win is 1 playoff point. Those have added up, and then you get 15 points for winning the regular season championship. Then I think it's like 10, 9, 8 or whatever, all the way down to 1 point for 10th place. And these carry with you every round, and the points are reset. So after these first 3 races, if you make it to the round of 12, doesn't matter what you did in these 3 races, how many points you got. Now, if you add more playoff points, those will count, right? Another win is 5 points, and another stage win is 1 point, and those will add up. But when they reset, all of these points roll with you to the next round until you get to the Final Four. Then it's just best finisher in that race. So that's just to kind of remind you how it goes. So we'll start at the top of the board. Kyle Larson has a nice 35-point cushion. Does that mean he's safe, locked into the next round? Absolutely not. If Kyle Larson finishes bad at Atlanta, well, Rod, 4 out of the last 5 times we've been there, he's finished 30th place or worse. That could be wiped out in an instant. So he is not safe. Christopher Bell is 27 points to the good as far as the cut line. Tyler Reddick is 23. William Byron is 17. Ryan Blaney is 13 to the good. Denny Hamlin, only 10 points to the good. Remember, they had that big, massive penalty that came down, so he's starting a little bit behind the 8 ball. Chase Elliott is 9 points to the good. Keselowski 3. Logano 2. Cindric 2. Daniel Suarez 1 point to the good. Alex Bowman currently holds the tiebreaker, so he would be the last car in if the playoff round ended today. Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, all three of those guys are tied on the cut line with just 5 points in general. Tyrone Gibbs, 1 point below the cut line with 4 points total, along with Martin Truex Jr. With the same, with 4 points total. So 1 point underneath of the cut line. I don't think anybody is completely safe, especially not with the schedule. And just to kind of walk you through the schedule, right? The round of 16 starts at Atlanta this weekend. Super Speedway. You have all the elements of one of these guys wins, and boom. And that's the thing, too. If you win in the round of 16, doesn't matter if you're 6 million points below. You win, if you're one of these 16 drivers, you're into the next round, and your points will reset. You'll get to 5 additional points, all that in the next round. So if you win at Atlanta, you could pull the upset and not have to worry about the next 2 races. So it's Atlanta, then Watkins Glen, a road course, Bristol, short track, of course. Then in the second round, they'll move on to Kansas, Talladega, and Charlotte. Then Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, and Phoenix will round it out. We'll kind of touch on those as we go through and make the picks for each set, I believe. But yeah, anything else to kind of set that up, Rob?
Well, I mean, listen, you pretty much hit everything on the head. But also, when you look at it, too, a lot of these drivers, we're talking consistency. We're talking as far as the win totals have gone this season. And you've seen a lot of the same guys at the top, which is why a guy like Kyle Larson is so far to the good right now, which is why, as much as we say Christopher Bell, it's kind of been a scratch your head season for him. He's still been consistent enough to be where he's at. And then, of course, we know Tyler Reddick winning the regular season championship did a lot for him, because who knows where he would have slotted in had he not won the championship. I mean, we know he was good, but those 15 points, you take those away, you're sitting
he's only got 8. So yeah, I mean, that was huge for Tyler Reddick for sure. And then, Larson finishing right there, and even Elliott getting the 3rd place points. He's only got 14 total. So if he hadn't gotten those, he'd be even closer to the line. Larson, Bell, Reddick, they could probably withstand a bad race in this round and have a good chance to move on still. I don't want to say they've got a mulligan to use, because I don't think that they do. But they've definitely got a nice cushion, which is good to have. But as we saw over the last few weeks, Martin Truex, no lead is safe, right? It can disappear very quickly. King, given his predictions for the first round out, Harrison, Hendrick, Suarez, and Truex, I would say that's probably about as chalk as you could get. If I could, which we should be able to, I wish they would give us this. If I could bet money on that not being the case, I would bet money on that, because I think that's the 4 that you would assume should go out, and that's just not how it's going to happen, because somebody in there is going to pull the upset.
Somebody's going to have a day better than the rest of them, and for sure. I mean, especially, again, when we start out with Atlanta, when we start out with a super speedway race, this is almost like essentially just going and spinning a wheel and saying, let's go at it.
Yeah, and to think of we talked yesterday, what will the aggression level be? Are they going to take it more easy? Don't forget, there's 20 stage points out there too. So if all of a sudden you are, if you're sitting right here on the line, you're Harrison Burton. What if you could win stage 1 and stage 2? Now suddenly you're 20 points above the cut line, just like that. All of a sudden you're in 4th place in the standings just from those 2 stages. Like, stage points are going to mean a lot this coming week. We're going to see strategy at Watkins Glen that's going to lead to points. Oh, boy. Love the playoffs, Rod. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I'm glad they continue to keep changing them to keep Jimmy Johnson from winning, because this is what we're left with now. And it does make things a little more exciting. So, all right, we will begin to work our way through this bracket. But before we do, I want to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. NFL's back, baby, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the season opener. There's a ton of Pick'em specials to get you started. You can also use specials and boosts on all your flex entries. Hang tight. Friday, we're going to give you a ton of our favorite Underdog Fantasy plays, and then we're also going to give you some Underdog plays for Xfinity on our socials and YouTube channels as well, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, though, sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. Okay, so this bracket challenge that we are about to partake in, every driver is assigned a certain amount of points. Actually, is it the odds or these are the points that you get as they progress through? I think they're the odds for championship odds. So actually, that's good of NASCAR to give you that. They're listed by all of the drivers that kind of give you what the odds are for them to win. So if you need a little extra help in thinking picking between a couple drivers and you think their championship odds are sort of telling you what they are, then you can use that. But each driver is listed here. You got to go down and take your way to the 12, then to the 8, to the 4. Obviously, like Cody said, it doesn't unlock until the next round. So after the round of 12 is over, then you can start picking the round of 8, and hopefully you're right on that one. So all the drivers are listed out for you. All you got to do, start selecting who's going to make it. So Cody, should we just go through and start from the top and work our way down and talk about each drivers and whether or not they're going to make it?
Yeah. Yeah, we either do it that way or we just pick our 4 that we think are not getting through the first round and move on.
That's actually probably a better idea. So I'll start with,
just to set these up, like it's Atlanta Superspeedway, Watkins Glen Road Course, Bristol Short Track. Those are the 3 races we're picking. You want to be one of the top 12 drivers or win one of those races to move on to the next round. So who do you got out, Rod?
I mean, automatically, I think we say Truex, right? This is we have to. I mean, unless he shows up at Watkins Glen.
I mean,
that's my only thing.
That's the thing, is he's always been pretty good at Watkins Glen, and he's been good at Bristol, but he's been good everywhere, and he's not been good lately.
Exactly. You think he makes it through the next round? I'd be willing to say he hangs on for one more round, only because those two of those tracks are tracks that he happens to be fairly good enough at, that I think if you really have to put it at him, he's going to show up, I think, at Watkins Glen. So that enough to put him through, though?
This really is just such a tough bracket, because looking at all these drivers, there's nobody that I'm just like, yeah, not making it to the next round. Like Harrison Burton should not make it to the next round. But Rod, what if he has a really good Atlanta and other people have trouble, and then okay.
Can we agree that Briscoe's got to go?
No, because I think, okay, we've had this discussion in the Discord as well. If you're not in there, you can get Chase Briscoe to win the championship at 100 to 1. I understand that this is unlikely to happen, but at 100 to 1, Rod, it is worth taking a sprinkle, because if he can find a way, and you've got super speedways, which he's decent at in both of these rounds, let's say he squeaks through this first round, right? Then he wins at Talladega. Suddenly he's in the round of 8. What if he finds his way? We know he's really good at short flats, right? Martinsville potentially could win that, could get top 5 and point his way in. What's the other track that he's won at before? Phoenix, where he's really good on a short flat. It's going to be their last rodeo, their last hurrah. Oh boy, just tossing out there at 100 to 1. It's worth a little bit of something. Laura, what are you confused about?
She's confused because we can't figure out who's going to be out. Like every time we come up on, look, okay, so Cindric, that was another name that got brought up, and I think is worth a conversation as well. Yeah, can he do well at this super speedway in Atlanta? Sure, but then he's got Bristol and he's got Homestead. So Bristol and Watkins Glen, not a traditionally good road course driver. Short track driver has not been much.
He's not bad at road courses though. I mean, he was really good in the Xfinity Series, and he's been okay. Okay, so first of all, back to Burton. Or have we decided we're leaving Burton out?
As far as in the bottom 4?
Being eliminated from the first round.
I have to think so. I mean,
I think you have to put him in. I'm not going to be completely shocked if he makes it through, but I do think that he's got to be one that you leave off, because it really is very hot takey if he's out. So
yeah. Okay,
so he's out. Cindric, you're thinking you're going to leave out?
I mean, at this point, yeah, because again, Cindric, I don't know. I don't see him advancing, because again, I know you say he's good at road courses, but I just against all this other competition, I'm not seeing Cindric stacking up this season against anybody. So, I mean, is he good enough to beat one of these guys to get in?
That's the thing. Like, this is, so I hadn't looked at this grid like before. That's obviously, I knew he was in the playoffs, but like I didn't sit down and like fill out a bracket or decide. And I really am struggling, because I can make a case for Cindric to get there. He probably won't, and he shouldn't. But again,
look, the only reason he's in right now is because he won a Gateway. That's the only reason why. And other than that, it's not.
I mean, Yeah, I get that.
I'll tell you what, let me give you some stats. Maybe this will help you. He's got 3 top 10 finishes this season, 2 top 5s, and that win. Average finishing position, 20.6. His finishes since that 7th in Indianapolis, 24th at Richmond, 28th at Michigan, 18th at Daytona, 13th at Darlington. I mean,
you're not wrong. There is going to be, I don't know who it's going to be. Somebody, whether it's a Larson, a Hamlin, a Blaney, and Elliott, is just going to have really bad luck in this first round and going to get eliminated. I'm calling my shot now, but I don't know who it's going to be. I'm with you, though. Austin Cindric out in the first round. Daniel Suarez, Rod, I know you're big on him at Atlanta. He's next on the cutting room floor for me. I don't think that Trackhouse, I mean, his teammate couldn't make the playoffs. He's not been that great. Yes, he had the win in Atlanta. That was great. Are you going to win back-to-back races in Atlanta? I'd say it's highly unlikely. So I think Daniel Suarez is going to be out in the first round for me as well.
Well, I think that's where we differ, because I think that he's going to have a good enough showing at Atlanta. I think he's actually going to have a decent enough showing at Watkins Glen, too. Remember, Daniel Suarez, not the worst road course racer in the world. Pretty good at Sonoma, right? 14th at Sonoma earlier, an 11th place at the Chicago Street Course, which I know we always tend to say it's not the same, but I'm just saying it's something that he's decent at. So I think he could do enough over the course of the next couple of races to secure his way in there. So I'm leaving Daniel Suarez. This is where we differ.
This is where our brackets already part ways. Walter checking in. Thinks Truex is going to surprise in the playoffs. I'll say it. He makes the Final Four.
Oof.
I think he's got the ability to, and that's what scares me. Based on how he's been running lately, based on how I think he's going to do this weekend, he shouldn't make the next round. But it's still Martin Truex Jr. He's still in elite equipment. He's still a very good driver. I know the luck's been bad. Think of all the points that he accumulated to have. He's got one finish better than 24th in the last 8 races. And he still made the playoffs on points, barely, right? But he had created such a cushion. He's one of 2 drivers to get it done. And it just feels like he could turn that switch at any moment. He feels like the Tony Stewart of that crazy playoff run, right? Where they just had a shit car and barely squeaked into the playoffs. I shouldn't even be here. Then he wins 5 out of the 10 in the chase and wins the championship, right? I don't think that Truex is going to win 5 out of the 10, but I'm having a hard time him being the guy that I'm dropping. I really think that Logano, Keselowski, Elliott, I feel like one of these guys could just be gone in the first round, and it's going to shock everyone, and they don't have that big of a cushion going in, and maybe we shouldn't be so surprised about that.
Well, I'll tell you, this are the last 4 that I have. I've already moved on to the next round of 12. Here's the 4 that are left behind for me. I got Cindric, Briscoe, Burton, and Truex. Those are my 4 that are out right now. So when you go log into the bracket challenge, that is who you will see as far as being out for me completely. And again, for Cindric, I understand. I know that everybody thinks he's going to do good in Atlanta. He probably will. I'm okay with that. But I don't think it's going to be good enough the next couple of rounds to get him through to the playoffs. So he may have one good race of the 3, but I don't think he's going to put together 3 good enough races to move on. Briscoe, same thing. He may have one good race in there, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to move him in. He barely got in. This was the only last-ditch effort for him to get in. I know that it's a great story, and I know that it's, a possibility for him to catch fire right now. But again, the consistency for Briscoe, not there when you're barely making it in. It's a Hail Mary from the cut line that he ended up making it in. The consistency hasn't been there all season. Harrison Burton, another Hail Mary from the cut line. Martin Truex Jr., might as well have his fishing pole in the lake at any one of these tracks that are out there already and be fishing. So those are my 4, because honestly, everybody else has had much stronger seasons in this here, except for maybe with the exception of Daniel Suarez. Yeah, it's a Hail Mary over that, but I think he's got the opportunity to at least put 2 of 3 good races together in this and move forward. So, and I'll make a case for them later on.
All right, Rod. Harrison Burton also out for me. Austin Cindric also out for me. Then this is where we depart ways. I'm taking Daniel Suarez and leaving him out. Joey Logano does not make it through the first round of the playoffs, Rod. This is one of those things where I could see him being the champion at the end of the day because he has that ability, but he's also been on a pretty rough stretch here as of late, not really showing up and doing that well. And I can't ever figure Joey Logano out, so I'm leaving him out of the round of 12.
You besmirched the name of even year Joey Logano. How dare you do that? So, all right, those are our next round of 12 picks. So we will move on to the round of 8 because that is what comes after the round of 12. But before we do any of that, allow me to take this opportunity to tell you about Rhythm. Yes, sir. Have you ever wanted to create your own betting sports model for football? No, you have. Do you even know what a sports betting model is? I do. Do you? I know you do. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or press Build a Model for Me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. The Rhythm College football had me on Colorado versus North Dakota State under 59.5, which was a sweet cash. Go get yours right now. Claim your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Buying tickets is the worst. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sometimes you don't know if you're getting real tickets or you're getting ripped off by somebody who knows how to game the system. Sometimes you're getting charged for things that you didn't even want to get charged for. As you hit the checkout button, they tack on another $5,000 for the one little ticket that you wanted to go watch your favorite band, to watch your favorite show, whatever it was. But Game Time, they don't do that. No, in fact, they make sure that your tickets are authentic and that they are from them and not from some skeezy person trying to get your money from you. Plus, they give you the lowest fees possible. There's no surprises when you check out either. When you check out, the price you see is the price you get. Plus, it's made for your phone, so it's all convenient for you, and you're going to see a picture of where you're sitting as well. They even take a picture for you. They sit down in the seat, they take a picture so you know exactly what you're looking at when you sit down in it. So make sure you give them a try. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create that account, use code SGPN for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. To the round of 12 we go, Cody. Let's just talk about the 4 drivers that we think aren't going to make this one.
Yeah, so schedule for the round of 12, Rod. We have Kansas Speedway, 1.5 miles. Talladega, another super speedway, big wild card race here. And then we'll end this round with the Charlotte Roval. So again, a nice mixture of different types of tracks, different skill sets. And we're going to cut the field from 12 to 8. Who's not making it to the round of 8 for you, Rod?
I am going to leave out Alex Bowman first and foremost. We talked about guys that sort of made their way in here that you kind of scratch your head of how. I know that he pointed his way in. We talked about the fact that, he hasn't necessarily won in a very long time a little while ago. And it just feels like the 48 of that Hendrick stable is the one where people are like, and we talk about too, he's in the hot seat, right? We don't know whether or not the ride's going to be there for him in the future, because Hendrick Motorsports has a pretty high bar. And if you don't hit that bar, then you start getting talked about. And I think the whispers are starting to get a little more loud in that 48 garage. So he's got to do something, but I don't know that it's going to get done in the round of 12.
Yeah, I also have Alex Bowman getting taken out. I think that he's maybe got something to prove in this first round, and he's not an final 8 driver. I hate to say it because he's fairly consistent, but we all know he's the last guy at Hendrick, and he kind of drags up the rear, and he's a good race car driver, but he's not a great race car driver. And he can surprise and win and have good races and be consistent. I wouldn't be shocked if he makes it to the round of 8, but I don't have him going to my round of 8. So I agree with you. And Alex Bowman is gone in the round of 12.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go ahead. I know you'll probably have to give me another one, because this is where Daniel Suarez's fantasy ends. And that is right here in the round of 12. Kansas, we talked about the 1.5 miles. Look, he won his way in Atlanta in an amazing fashion, but hasn't necessarily been good on other super speedways too. And we've outlined that a couple of times already. Talladega, not one of his best tracks. Charlotte also, I mean, the 1.5 mile speed has not necessarily been there for, like you said, Trackhouse in general, let alone Daniel Suarez. So I think his fun, the Atlanta for him in the first round is the get out of the round of 16 free card. His ride ends here at the round of 12 because these next 3 tracks are not ones that are going to be friendly to his playoff chances going forward. So I think it's been fun to have the 99 in the playoffs, but it'll only last 1 round and that's it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll even make it past the first round. So I had him going out in that one. So no disagreement from me there. You had Martin Truex Jr. out in the first round. I have him going out in the second round. I think we're going to get that one little glimpse of some hope, and then that candle is going to quickly blow out. And as Laura said, MTJ lost his mojo. I think I might have just maybe enough to squeak into the round of 12, but I don't see him going past there. So Martin Truex Jr. is out in the round of 12 for me.
Indeed. My next driver out, hate to say it, but Brad Keselowski, he would have been able to make his way through to the round of 12, but I think that's where it ends because this is where the competition gets stiff. And we know that that RFK has been good. They've been good at mile and a half. They've been just good enough. I mean, and you got to make it to the round of 8, you got to be better than just good enough. And so I think for Brad Keselowski, it's been a good run for him this season. He's had a lot of great finishes. He's been there when he needs to be there. But again, as you start to get in the playoffs, you got to be better than just good enough. And RFK got both of their drivers, just one of their drivers, and rather couldn't get both drivers through. And that tells you something right there. I mean, that tells you the type of impressive season that Brad Keselowski has had so far. But yeah, I don't think 12 top 10s, that's good. 8 top 5s, that's good. The win that got him in is good, but his average finishing position so far this season, 14.1. I mean, again, you look at Kansas earlier this season too, when they were there, 11th place finish. That's okay. I mean, that's fine. And then you go to Talladega, second place finish. Oh, maybe I'm starting to time. Bristol, third place. Oh, I don't know.
Well, Roval's the last one of this round, so it's Kansas, Talladega, Roval.
That's true.
Yeah, Talladega. I mean, obviously Keselowski's won at Talladega a lot, so there is that in there. I was really torn between leaving Keselowski out or leaving Chase Elliott out. I think one of those 2 guys maybe doesn't make it to the next round. I'm going to agree with you. I do think that it is Keselowski. They just, I don't know, RFK kind of had a little spurt where we saw a lot, and they were like the first Ford team to figure it out, and you're like, oh, Buescher all of a sudden is fast and looks good, and then obviously he doesn't even make the playoffs. Keselowski's kind of fizzled out here lately. This is I don't know, it's a toss-up round for him because you got Talladega in there, which he's really good at, but anything can go wrong. He's not good at road courses, so having the Roval in there, not going to be helpful to Keselowski either, so I am giving the edge to Chase Elliott, moving him on, and I am eliminating Brad Keselowski as well.
Yes, indeed. I need one more to leave off. Did you already put all 4 of yours out?
Oh, I'll give my 4th one, Rod, because I already know who it is. Wah, wah, wah. Your 2026 NASCAR Cup Series champion. Not going to make it past the round of 12 this time, Rod, but he's got his coming in the future. Tyrone Gibbs. Sorry, King. I could see him making that run to the round of 8 pretty easily. But when it comes down to picking somebody to move out here, I'm going to continue on with one of my upset guys, which is Chase Briscoe actually making to the next round. And I have Gibbs falling out in this round. King is bookmarking this. But I'm going to be rooting for him to go farther. So it's that emotional hedge, right? It's where you bet against him and hope he does better. I think that it's been an impressive season. 1 or 2 drivers to make it on the points. That's been great. It's been very up and down, though, right? He had that hot streak early in the season, then he cooled off into that slump you were saying. Finished the season on an okay note with a couple of good finishes, but I don't know. I mean, he's been good at super speedways, so he could do decent at Talladega, and the Roval should be decent to him, but I feel like this is kind of the round where I don't know if he's Elite 8 material just yet. Now, again, future multi-time champion. I will stick by that. I absolutely love Ty Gibbs in the future. We're just not quite there yet. Let's get a win first, then we can worry about moving through the playoffs a little more.
And that's the key word right there. As you start to look through the rest of who's left, these are all guys that have won races this season, some of them multiple races. You have to be able to win in order to make it past a lot of these guys, because all of these guys have potential and have done and have won a race. So you're competing against guys that are at the top of the board, not just, everybody that sort of scraped into the 16. So I think that's what separates it right now, right? Ty Gibbs, look, King, we all know it. Everybody, all of you Ty Gibbs fans that have probably already left us at this point. King's the only one that stuck around. That we are high on his potential, but unfortunately this is not it yet. We haven't seen the potential. So I'm with you on that. Ty Gibbs is also out of my...
And I mean, if you look at the playoff standings right now, he's the second to last guy. It's like he's 15th out of 16 as far as people who have accrued playoff points thus far. We're through 26 races. So he's already a bit of an underdog. I mean, technically, having him move through the next round is already better than he should actually be one of the chalk getting cut if you look at it that way. Now, obviously, the Burton, the Cindric, the Suarez, they got in on their wins. So, yeah, I get it. But in top 5 capability, absolutely. He could win those races. I mean, he could easily win the Roval, right? Daytona Road Course was his first career win in Xfinity Series. Good at that type of track. He could be good at Kansas as well. Again, I'd love to see it. But this is where I have him exiting. Who's your fourth and final departure from the round of 12, Rod?
That was it. I'm with you. Ty Gibbs does not move on to the round of 8. Yeah. And again, top 5 capabilities.
All right, we got that out of the way. Sorry, Ty Gibbs.
Definitely know that he's not. I mean, we know he's a good driver. He's got top 5 capabilities at just about every track he's at. So,
spoiler alert, tune in on Friday if you want to hear Rod say some good things about Ty Gibbs in the DFS episode.
Woof. I'm telling you right now, I don't hate the guy. It's just that we have to pick this based on who we think is going to move on. That's all. All right.
He might, Walter, I thought he was the 2025 champion. He might be. I haven't decided yet, but he might be 25 and 26. See how that works? So, but 26, already putting that in the book and giving it to him. So, Rod, time to set the championship for 3 races in the round of 8. They're going to Las Vegas 1.5 miles. They're going to Homestead, Miami 1.5 miles. They're going to Martinsville, a short, flat track. You win one of these, you're locked into the Final 4. So who do you have left in your round of 8, Rod?
So I've got Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Blaney, Hamlin, Elliott, Logano. That's who I have left right now.
I've got Bell, Byron, Hamlin, Reddick, Blaney, Briscoe, Elliott, and Larson.
Yeah, so we're kind of close. But for me, this is where Elliott goes out. So I think this is the round where Elliott goes out. It's been fun, but that 9 team rather is just not necessarily been the strongest of what he wants to be.
They've been consistent, which is good for him to get through a couple of rounds. But at this point, you're going to need more than consistency to get in there. You're going to need to actually have a strong car, and we just haven't seen it. Again, he's a guy who could get hot, and if he starts to get hot, look at his championship odds really quickly, because if he can rack off a win or two and all of a sudden have a fast car, it's what he did in 2020, not the most impressive of seasons, but he got hot at the right time, won, 3 of the last 4 or something, and won the championship. So, yeah, I agree. I also have Chase Elliott going out in the round of 8 and not making the round of 4.
Again, it pretty much hurts to say it, but I think that's where we're at now with this 9 team, and I think he knows it, they know it. So unless, like you said, unless they hit on something sooner rather than later, I think the 9 bows out. I feel the same about the 24. It feels weird to think about this now. As beginning of the year, it was like crown him the champion, right? Dude got off to about the hottest start you can get off to. But boy, that 24 is not as good as it was.
It's so hard to narrow it down from 8 to 4 is the hardest one, because there's a good 6 or 7 drivers who really deserve to be in the Final 4 and who are great. And great point on Byron. I think he started the season great, took off for the summer. We've seen that so many times before with the 48 car, Rod. Is that what it was? Do we see him kind of get back into it? I wouldn't be shocked if Byron would have won 5 of these last 10 races and be crowned the champion. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And I feel like I didn't want to leave him out of the Final 4 because he's so fucking good. But what we've seen lately hasn't been the best. And when I broke it down into the guys that I think are going to be there, he's like the first guy out for me. So I think Byron will be close to getting there. I think he definitely could. But I'm also leaving him out of the round of 4.
Which again just feels wrong, but this is you got it. It's only 4 drivers left. Like there's 8. You got to pare them down. You got to take half of them away. You got to strike half down. And every one of these guys comes with their own argument of why they should move on. The thing you have to do now is think of why shouldn't they? Why won't they? What is keeping them from getting beyond this next round? Because this is a very tough slate coming up between Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville, right? You've got one of the most grueling short tracks out there in Martinsville. Las Vegas, that is kind of a sleeper, boring race, right? That'll lull you to sleep, but there's drivers that are really good on this track. And then Homestead, which used to be the championship race. So like that presents its own challenges. But all right. I'm very much waffling here. I don't want to go against even year Logano, but I think at this point I have to take him out. I don't know that he's got enough firepower to deal with the top of the board in my Logano, even year Logano, I know I'm bucking fate, but at the same time, you already took him out a round earlier.
I took him out in the first round. So
yeah,
for him to get to year 8, Logano and Blaney, it's the same thing. And we've seen it over the last 2 years. You didn't really see it coming. They both got hot. They both won the championship. That could happen to them again. It could also happen to somebody else. And like, that's why you can't just count Martin Truex out. That's why you can't count out Chase Briscoe. You didn't see it coming. You didn't think going into the playoffs last year that it was going to be Ryan Blaney when you were talking about the round of 16. You didn't think going into the playoffs the year before that it was going to be Joey Logano. Guess who has the most cars in the playoff field, Rod? Ford. After they didn't win until May, they have the most cars in the playoff field. They've won the last 2 championships. And yet it feels like none of them should be the cars that make it to the Final Four, but there's one of them's gonna make it. Which one it is, who knows? And you could make a strong case for most of the Fords in here, except for Harrison Burton. But the rest of them, I don't know. Anyways, so you're taking Joey Logano out?
Take Joey Logano out.
That's what I got out of that. Okay.
Against my
this is where I'll have another Ford leaving as well in Chase Briscoe. I think he makes that magical run here. If he can get to this round, though, and survive Las Vegas, Homestead, Miami is very good to dirt track drivers. We saw that work out well for him at Darlington last week. And short flat tracks he's always been good at. I am not counting Chase Briscoe. It would be a Cinderella story, but I could see a path for him to get to the Final Four that's not that unrealistic. Like it's Harrison Burton getting to the Final Four. You're going to need miracles to happen and mountains to be moved. But for Chase Briscoe, I don't think we're that far off from something like that happening. So, but I do think that round of 8, I already had him get here farther than a lot of people are going to have him go. And I think that I will leave him out of the Final Four.
So, well, I already took him out, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I will say that I'm having a hard time in this last one because I know the stat. I know, again, it's almost the same discussion that I had with myself about even the year Logano. I know the stat about Christopher Bell. I know that he's made the Final Four in every year of this playoff, the way the playoffs are now. But as I look up and down this list, I don't think he's going to make it to this one. It's just it's tough for me to say it, but I know Christopher Bell gets so much love on this. His average finishing position this season, though, 15th. He's got 15 top 10s, which is great, 9 top 5s, and those 3 wins, right? But, I mean, Martinsville, he finished 35th. Vegas, he finished 33rd. And then what's the other one in there? Miami. I mean, obviously, we know he's pretty decent at Miami because of the fact that he's in the playoffs almost every single year. But by the same token, those first 2 races could put him in a big enough hole to where he may not be able to make it out. And maybe that's the reason that he doesn't make it this time around, in that, those two first races kind of take him out and put him behind the 8 ball, or at least bookend it, right? Vegas starts it out, Martinsville finishes it. But yeah, maybe this is the end for Bell.
It's not the end for Bell, Rod. He is going to make it into the Final Four. Let's see. Who have I knocked out so far? Elliott, Briscoe. We talk about William Byron?
We have not yet. Oh, no. Yeah, we did. Because I took him out.
We talked about him. Yeah, and I did as well. My final guy out, Ryan Blaney. This is one that's tough to take out here as well because we've seen him get to the Final Four Well, I guess just last year, but he was the best car at Phoenix in both seasons the last 2 years. And he could get there, I think, for sure. He's the best hope for Ford, in my opinion. I think he does get to this round of 8, but I've got him falling out here in the round of 12 and not, or in the round of 8 and not advancing to the Final Four.
I mean, listen, here we're already at odds, but that's okay. That's where we're at here. So then what's your Final Four?
So my Final Four, Rod: Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson. And I will be honest with you, I highly considered Kyle Larson not making it past the round of 12 because you've got Talladega in that round, and I guess the Roval he should be fine at, but Talladega's in that round, and I think that could be where he doesn't have a mulligan to use and gets so far behind the 8 ball, he over pushes it, and we see him give too much effort at times. But he's the best fucking driver in the world. I wanted to not have him get to the Final Four because I think that he's got that ability to push too hard and just lose it. But I couldn't leave him out of the Final Four. I literally tried to leave him out the last 2 rounds, and I couldn't, Rod. So he does make the Final Four. So Reddick, Bell, Hamlin, and Larson, fairly chalky. I mean, going into this, that's the top 3 guys going into the playoffs, and then Hamlin is in 6th place. But yeah, it ends up being pretty chalky. But I mean, really, I'd see these 4 guys. I could see Byron making it there for sure. I could see Blaney making it there. Those are kind of the first 2 out for me.
Well, okay, listen, for me, my Final Four is Larson, Reddick, Blaney, and Hamlin. So yeah, I mean, those are my Final Four. That's honestly, I think Blaney has done just enough to continue his championship. Now, remember, he's the champion until he's dethroned. So he's fallen on hard times as well. I will admit that. And if I were to pick, if you were to make me really study the Bell versus Blaney side of it, I may end up siding with Bell only because of his past. But we know that it's very hard to continue a streak. Ask Kyle Busch. So if that is the case, then, if this is the year that Bell doesn't make it, then I think Blaney sneaks in. Hamlin, a perennial top 4 guy. Larson, a perennial top 4 guy. Reddick, you can't leave him out because he's going to be your champion, but he's also been one of the most consistent guys this season, which is why he's there right now. So I think at least 3 of those 4, like you said, have the strongest case for it. And really, for me, it was between Bell and Blaney, and I almost could flip a coin between it, but I still think Blaney gets the returning champion bump and the respect that he deserves in that.
Walter checking in. Damn, this is going to be the time where Larson wins Talladega. I'm guessing he meant to say and Atlanta. Probably. But, hey, then he'll get to my Final Four like I predicted.
Well, there it is. And then, of course, you said Tyler Reddick is going to win the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been giving that prediction out since literally last November. I've bet on him multiple times to win the championship. He's come out and been exactly what I thought he could be, and hasn't quite got all the wins, but really good finishes, regular season champion, and things are going well for him. I see that continuing. They seemingly, knock on wood here, have fixed the pit crew problems, which has been their biggest crutch over the last few years. That's got a lot better. You have to have a pit crew to win a championship. We're going to get to Phoenix. Christopher Bell will likely get a bet from me in this race if he makes it there to win the championship, because I'm going to have the Reddick hedge already on the futures. Christopher Bell, the biggest threat to this, and I should be looking at his championship odds because I might consider betting them right now. I think that Christopher Bell is the biggest threat to Tyler Reddick to win the championship this year, Rod. I'm going to toss that out there. And then another get there and heartbreak for Denny Hamlin. Man, I want to say so bad this is his year, but I'm tired of saying it, and I'm just not going to say it, and I'm going to hope he wins one, because I would love to see Denny Hamlin win a championship and really secure that final, get there and he's got everything checked off at that point. So, and then Kyle Larson makes it, but once again falls short.
Well, that's okay. So that's the thing about it. I was thinking that this is probably going to end up being a Denny Hamlin year, kind of like what you were saying. So if there's one other person that I would suggest, and I did this last year and it bit me in the ass, maybe I should just go with Larson. But what I will say is that as we take a look at the championship to make the championship 4 odds, Kyle Larson sits right now at -220, Christopher Bell -190, Hamlin -190, Reddick at even money +100, and then Blaney at +150. Which is one of the other drivers. We talked about Christopher Bell already being kind of a heavy dog there. So of the drivers we have in the championship 4, those are the odds for them.
Yeah, so basically, if you believe in Reddick or you believe in Blaney to get to the Final Four like we do, go bet those guys because at Reddick at even money, what are we doing, Ron? Do we not pay any attention? Yeah, I'd still bet that for sure. And if you're in on Blaney like you are, +145, it's definitely worth taking a look at.
Yes, it is indeed. So, all right. That is your championship bracket. Again, make sure you go to
who is your champion again? I felt like you tossed out Hamlin and Larson and didn't pick one. Were you trying to get away with that, Rod?
I've got 2 months to figure it out. I don't have to figure this out. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Hamlin, but only because time's running out.
James Dennis Allen Hamlin, a Cup Series champion. He will be a Cup Series champion at the end of the season, Rod, as an owner when Tyler Reddick wins it all.
True. That's true.
Fucking go.
Yeah. But I mean, if you have to make me pick now, it's time's running out for Hamlin. I don't know that he can make the same kind of charge that he made this year. I mean, listen, we're about the same age, him and I, and I'm telling you right now, 2 things run short when you get as old as us: patience and the ability to sit in one place for 4 hours and deal with traffic.
And things have not been going well for Hamlin. He's not riding the momentum train into the playoffs, which could be problematic. And he could, and that big, I'm telling you, we are going to talk about at one point or possibly multiple points throughout this playoff run, whether it gets him or comes very close to getting him, that massive penalty they took right before the playoffs is going to come into play at some point. And if he doesn't make it to the Final Four, that could very well be the reason why. Man, that would just be brutal for them, but that's how it goes.
That's exactly how it goes. So, all right, that's it. Make sure you get in on the contest as well. Go to the link in the Discord. We'll find it. You know what? I'll put it in the description too of the YouTube. I'll add that to our YouTube description as well. And then keep an eye on our socials for that link as well.
Yep. It's pinned on the X, and I'll share it over on the Facebook as well.
Yep, that's the one for the Listener League. We'll announce the prizes next week when we talk to the bosses to see what kind of swag we can give you. And, we'll make it a lot of fun over the course of the next. Actually, we should probably do it sooner rather than later because then, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We got a couple days.
Just go enter. Be lucky if you win something.
Indeed.
Oh, just kidding.
Indeed. All right. Well then, Cody, let's wrap up this episode. And we promise there's odds right now out for Xfinity. We'll make sure that we get that out to you tomorrow on our live episode as well. Sorry about we're we have to do what the books lead us to. And unfortunately, the books didn't give us what we wanted today.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. So not a big deal, but we'll be back tomorrow. Full Xfinity Series show. Wrapping it up with DFS on Friday. Going to be a fun week. Atlanta Superspeedway Racing.
Yeah, baby.
Which I love to bet on that. So go, if you don't have any futures bets in, go play some based off of our takes, I guess, on this show. So there you go. In the meantime, Rod, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. Follow us as well at NASCAR Gambling. That's where you can find the link, of course, for that contest we just talked about. And go sign up for Underdog if you haven't already. Promo code RACESGPN. See you guys tomorrow for Xfinity Series picks.
Indeed. Yes. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. Got some football stuff coming out for Sportsbook Review here pretty soon. Of course, check out In Between Media. The Back Road is there for you as well. Breaking down Atlanta. A lot of good stuff there for you. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow with the Xfinity Series. Until then, everyone, let's go racing and let it ride.